Very useful area around the world. Today, a very interesting guest, an important area, understanding financial knowledge. I think we can all do a bit of that. Certainly myself, that's for sure. And I think this is an important area to keep up to date and informed with. Andy Clarke, Business Development Manager of AAT, is going to give us a bit of a rundown on how we can improve our financial knowledge. Andy, welcome to the show. Great to have you on board.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you very much for having me on. We are the Association of Accounting Technicians at the AAT. We've recently undertook a study with over 1,000 workers within the UK workforce, and it really painted a picture that there is a distinct lack of confidence when it comes to financial terminology and understanding of finance within businesses. We saw that nearly 60% of those that we spoke to came across terminology that confused them on a weekly basis, and perhaps more alarmingly, 45% of those had witnessed serious business repercussions as a result of those errors. So it's a really important topic to discuss. We found again within the study that nearly half of those that we spoke to were embarrassed to admit that they didn't understand certain financial terminology, and more than half wished that there was more opportunity for them to train. And I think what's really important here, Jimmy, it's not just about those that are working within accounting and finance roles who have potentially got professional qualifications, but it's looking more widely in the business. For example, you could be a marketing executive that needs to budget for an advertising campaign. You could be a sales professional that needs to understand the critical difference between turnover and gross profit. All of these considerations are going to be the difference between a business being able to be successful or potentially having financial struggles in the future.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. It is a bit of a minefield if you're sort of new to it, and in the short time we've got in the interview, I suppose we sort of can't go into every detail, but hopefully can maybe signpost the listeners to where they can have a look into more detail. But I've noticed some of the more confusing terms, things like liabilities, return on investment, depreciation, tax deductible, pay as you earn. And we probably won't have time to go into a lot of detail with all of them, but can you give us a bit of a rundown in terms of what are some of the key things? I suppose profit is probably the big one, really, return on investment, but is there anything that sort of you can highlight, Anthony, for our listeners that obviously sort of would be of help, big help?
So I think, as you've mentioned there, Jimmy, profit is the big one. It's understanding the difference between profits and loss. Where we're investing money, where we're investing resource, is that investment then having a positive impact on our profits? Cash flow is another really important one. A business's ability to have that liquid cash when they come to servicing their debts, when they come to servicing their day-to-day liabilities. They're two very important ones. Obviously, understanding budgeting, understanding if we're investing this amount of money, whether it be into an advertising campaign, whether it be into a team within a business, within that budget, we need to make sure that we're constantly keeping an eye on those finances to ensure that we're not going over our budgets, which again would have a negative impact on the financial stability of that business. So there's a whole range of different terminologies. Some of them really quite technical that you wouldn't necessarily expect somebody that doesn't work within finance to understand, but certainly individuals that have a responsibility for finance within their roles really do need to have an understanding of. One of the key things that we find as well is that there's a disparity between perhaps the terminology used by a finance professional within a business and those that don't work in finance roles. So it's about having strong communication skills from the finance perspective. It's understanding how you communicate information in a way that's understandable to somebody that doesn't work within finance, but likewise for those non-finance professionals, by just sharpening up their skills, by just undertaking a little bit of training, they'll have a greater understanding of what some of these financial phrases mean, which means that they can have more effective conversations with their finance colleagues.
No, absolutely, and I mean you've kind of alluded to it there, and about why it's important to have strong financial knowledge at work. But is there anything sort of specific, really? Is there like anything that you can sort of draw attention to that really is important to have some financial knowledge at work?
I think where it goes back to, Jimmy, is that point about people being embarrassed to admit what they don't know. And there's a real onus on business owners, business leaders, managers to create a culture of transparency, to create a safe culture where individuals can come up to them, because you're going to have a real mix of training needs, of financial understanding across teams within businesses. So it's creating that space, first of all, where people can have those proactive conversations about their training needs, and then to look at what the most effective way of addressing those needs could be. It could be anything from a short, sharp half an hour online bite-sized training course, all the way through to full qualifications and apprenticeships. It's about understanding what's right for that individual, and then finding the best support, the best training and development to help them to be effective within their roles.
Absolutely, and I mean, you've kind of answered my next question really about what employers should or could be doing to support the workforce. But I mean, you've mentioned a few things there. Is there sort of anything else you can add to that? At work, I suppose, depending on what you work, really, you do a number of like short courses, CPD and that sort of stuff. Could that be something that's sort of taken into consideration for for workforce, sort of for people to get their head around some of these terms and terminologies?
Absolutely, Jimmy. We work with thousands of businesses across the world on a daily basis, supporting them with those financial skills, with that training that they need for their businesses to be successful. The best thing that I would advise for anybody that's wanting to explore what they can do for their colleagues, what they can do for their businesses, or indeed as an individual, I'd advise them to visit aat.org.uk/train. And here they will have the option to take a look at a variety of different courses, as I mentioned, from those short, sharp training courses that may be perfect for somebody that doesn't need a really full understanding of accountancy, all the way through to full qualifications and apprenticeships for those that are working specifically within finance. We have a team that work with businesses on a daily basis to really understand what those financial training needs are within their organisation, and to support and advise them as to the best solutions to meet those business requirements, and ensure that their teams are real world ready. They've got those skills in a rapidly changing world of accountancy and finance. They've got those key sharp skills that are going to allow them to thrive.
Absolutely. And just in terms of, we've spoke about the workforce there. What about listeners who might be sort of self-employed? Does it apply to them too? And I would have thought some of the things that we spoke about this morning for someone who is, self-employed, for example, it can be a minefield out there. Are there like courses and CPD people can do if they are working on their own and just trying to figure it out by themselves? They might not be able to afford to get an accountant in the beginning, whatever. Are there sort of any courses for people in that situation?
Absolutely, Jimmy. So all of those courses that I've mentioned are equally as suitable for individuals as they would be for businesses. So for those sole traders, it's so important that they've got a good grasp of finances to make sure that their businesses are sustainable, that they're able to thrive, that they're able to build, that they're able to survive. And it would be exactly the same advice for those small business owners, those sole traders, Jimmy. If they were to visit aat.org.uk/train, it will give them information on things like budgeting, on finance for non-finance managers. So giving those basics that are going to help them to get a better grasp of finance.
No, definitely. I mean, speaking to you this morning, and I sort of wonder why this isn't, if it's not introduced in sort of maybe schools at some point or just slightly beyond there. You have the best idea in the world, but I think like this morning, having spoken to you, sort of you've got to somehow get your head around, the financial side of things really. And look, certainly from my experiences, you see a lot of creative people with great ideas. It's just the sort of the finance side of things really. There's a whole different ball game really. So I'm sure plenty of our listeners listening this morning will find it quite interesting that we can all have a great idea and be passionate about a product really, but how we sort of get it out, these sort of key. But so for these programs, these CPD, they're more along the lines of sort of the accounting area. just for our listeners, in terms of how far can they go with these courses? If someone's interested in maybe taking it further, is that the option for them as well to do that?
Absolutely, Jimmy. So there's anything there from somebody that just needs to have a basic understanding of finance, all the way through to those that want to go on, become AAT qualified, potentially set up their own accountancy practice, progress into becoming a chartered accountant. We've got qualifications there, and on a day-to-day basis, we see students successfully progressing through AAT qualifications, going on to build really, really successful careers for themselves. So there's a real flexible range of training and qualifications that are going to meet the needs of just about anybody that wants to build up that finance and account knowledge.
Brilliant. Thanks for your time. It's been really interesting and informative. So once again, thanks again, and wish you a great day. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks, Jimmy. Have a great day.